but I'll do each scenario that you would get. You want to hit the lights behind you so you can see better. So go ahead and lay your hand flat down anyway, and then I'm going to make everything match her hand. So we want the long part of the IR going with the long part of her hand, so kind of like that. And then she did it right there in the middle at the third MCP is our centering for the hand. I'm just going to open up to get all of her hand in there. Of course, we wouldn't want to watch on. Bring your thumb in, just to make sure we have light around, pretty much equal around all four sides.
And then you will mark
all the way back to the wrist, and then this is her left hand. I would probably put it over here somewhere. You could put it over here as long as it's not in the shadows. And see how you can see the shadow of her fingertips. For collimation, see how close that is to the shadow of the thumb?
so you know it's
So
still gonna.
we would be cutting it pretty close, so we want to make sure we have light past the shadows. And same thing on the tips of the fingers up and
And
down.
we're putting the marker for the size.
For the
hand.
side of the hand, whatever hand
Which
it is.
hand it is?
Yes.
Not the right or the left.
Not the right or left side of it, but
Okay,
it is a
the
right
right
hand.
hand.
This is a left hand. Yeah,
All right.
a left marker for the left hand.
Okay.
Now that's our PA. If I was going to do the second digit, I would want to be at the PIP. So I would go back and then come in to the finger. And maybe a little bit more back down the metacarpal bone. We want about 2/3 of it according to the book. You have plenty of room for your marker. If it was the 5th digit, then we would go to the PIP on the 5th digit. And we could go smaller. So we'll go back to hand now, just to get all 3 views of the hand, and then we'll come back to those fingers. So PA hand, all 4 corners centered at the 3rd MCP for the hand PA. Now from there, we're going to do an oblique. And you can just turn the hand about 45 degrees up so that everything stays on the same plane. So see how those fingers want to droop down? Keep it up straight, parallel to the IR. Anything that's leaning down is going to cause the joints to close. So I can see each finger, the shadow of it. If I go too much, see how they're touching and overlapping.
That's how it's gonna come out.
So we want to see them at a slant or an angle. And you can spread them if they need to. If they're not, bring that thumb in so it don't get clipped. So all the shadows, if her thumb's off, then it's going to clip it on the x-ray.
Yeah.
So I'm
it's
going to
all-
bring it in. So that's our oblique, 45 degrees. We can see all the fingers. This is going to get down in between the joints. So you can see if there's a oblique type fracture.
So is that at the PIP joint?
Still at the, go back.
MCP?
Yep, 3rd MCP. Still
Oh, okay.
centered on the same spot.
Okay.
Now we're going to do a karate chop type and fan the fingers out for the fan lateral, pinky back. Now I can see every finger. Now see how I'm clipping here? Just going to open up the light.
I practice that one by saying, okay.
And so see how it's still close, but if I open it up, I'm going to go off. This is because her hand's not true lateral. Roll up. Now that part are straight, but each finger is stepped out and fanned out, so they're on their side lateral.
So the metacarpals have to be true lateral.
True lateral.
Expand out.
Yes. Now this is the same exact position you could do for a lateral finger. See how I can get a nice lateral 5th digit? I just wiggle it over and come down to that 5th digit. Still a lateral position of the hand with the fingers fanned out, but I'm just focused on a finger. Now where this would not work is the 2nd digit because we have a lot of OID.
Yeah.
So for the 2nd digit lateral, we want to turn the hand that way. And just bring those out of the way and get it by itself on that little PIP joint. Now see how I'm not centered on the IR. To make it pretty and fancy, I just want to make sure these lines line up to the middle. Shine it back again. Now everything's centered in the middle of the IR. And you can put your marker up here. So 2nd digit special, we roll it that way for the lateral, and then the oblique. Bring the thumb back this way, and we can raise that up a little bit. Still gonna have some, so it's straight on the same plane, but less OID than the other way. So you're not gonna get total no OID on it, but 2nd digit goes this way, everything else goes the other way. So all these fingers are gonna be oblique like that, just like we did our oblique hand. Spread them out a little bit. But now look how much OID second digit has, so that's why we do that one down.
Down.
But these, third, fourth, fifth, all like this. We're gonna have a little OID, but it's easier for the patient position. We try to get as least as possible. Now the thumb is special. It's gonna have an AP for our first one, so turn your hand upside down. And the thumbnail we want flat on its back, so whatever it takes to roll her there, right there. Now I'm just gonna come and turn the collimator to match the thumb. And we're going back to the MCP for the centering. And I'm just gonna turn the cassette for the IR to match. And let's do our collimation for the thumb. Right about there. So we got everything in there that we need for our AP thumb. Now we're gonna do an oblique thumb. Just do a PA hand, flat down, and the thumb is obliqued. So now I'm gonna match the collimator with that. And then to make this light match with my IR, I'm just gonna turn the IR to make it be in the middle. Still at the MCP joint back here. Across here. Now that's a slant, how the thumb's at an angle, 45 degrees. Now we need lateral. We're gonna just roll it on its side. That's
Like
a
this?
lateral thumb, yep. Straight on its side now. You can put something under the hand if you want to hold it, or bend your fingers to kind of curl them to support it, but it's on its side laterally. Yep. So PA, oblique, and lateral for a hand, PA, oblique, and lateral for fingers at the PIP, thumb, AP, oblique, and lateral back to the MCP. So now we're gonna do wrist. Kind of make a little fist with the wrist. When you do that, if you lay your hand flat, you have a space or a gap. If you curl your fingers, it releases that gap and makes your wrist lay flatter. So just a little, not too tight of a fist, just relaxed. And then we're gonna go between the styloids, right there, mid-carpal area for our centering. And then collimation, it's a square box about equal around all four sides, about 2 inches above and below the joint. So you could say you want to get almost to the knuckles or almost all the metacarpals.
And you'll continue marking with the.
The left marker because it's the left wrist.
Okay.
So that's a PA wrist. We're going to go oblique halfway, 45.
Does it matter where you mark it at?
Nope, as long as it's out of the shadow of the bone. So over here or over here, it doesn't matter. So that's halfway up, still centered in the middle. And then our lateral, straight up and down. Now you can relax the fingers, you don't have to keep the fist, but you don't want the thumb to be like up in the air because that's going to close the joint. So just
Like
relax the
this?
thumb, yep. And then you can feel the styloids. Her one's here and her other one's here. Now my thumb and that finger are straight on top of each other right now. If, roll forward a little bit, if I'm off,
Oh, you can kind of.
then you can kind of tell it's not going to be true lateral. I need to roll it back right there. You can't be feeling on a broken bone of a person's wrist, so you'll start to be able to eyeball it, but that's how you can tell. If
Okay.
they're not really hurt, you can feel it. Now, is this going to be a big thing on this nice, pretty square collimation? If you go more like that, it's okay. As long as you have a couple of inches above and below the joint.
Okay.
And that's our 3 views for wrist. PA with a little curl of the fingers to help make the wrist flatter. Halfway, 45 for our oblique, and then straight up and down for our lateral. Now I'm going to switch out to the big one. And we're going to do the forearm. AP, flat up, straight out. And I'm going to lay that down. We need elbow joint and wrist joint in the leg. So I got more this way, not a lot of wrist, so I'm going to slide it. Yep. This one, if you will, just let your arm go straight out like that so it keeps shoulder and everything on the same plane. Mid forearm. And I'm just making my light match her humerus and her forearm straight. Then I'm gonna lift it a little bit and match the IR to that. So both joints, everything flat AP. Yep, mid-form, and we're going by the condyles and the humerus. But you can kind of feel these little bumps on the side. When they are straight with each other, roll a little bit. Now it's an oblique. So we want them to be straight that way or parallel to the IR. And the same thing with the wrist. So it's true AP. I feel like I'm cutting off a little bit there, so I'm a little slanted. I think my light's just not turned quite right with it.
There it goes.
Yep. So now I'll fix that. Now everything looks better. And you can go a little wider if you need to. We just don't want light past the edge of the cassette. And then we need a lateral. So bend your arm 90 degrees. That's a big important thing to get the humerus at this nice L-shaped bend. And then relax down. Again, I'm going to bring it away from you to stretch your arm to make it level to the IR. And that, this part gets hot back here. The metal in that line. Mid-form again. And we need light all the way around the back bend of the elbow. So I see the whole shadow. A little bit of humerus and wrist. Equal it out there. And that's our lateral. If the wrist is not true lateral, then that's not a lateral elbow. So go down, that would be a fail. So making sure this is a lateral and that this elbow is a true lateral by the bend. If we did it like that, that's a fail. So we want to make sure we have that 90-degree bend in the wrist. That's our most important thing for positioning this one.
Do we have to be precise, like for the IRs having up the notches, do you want the light?
No, I
To be
mean,
like
as much as you
exactly-
can get close to it.
Okay.
Like I'm a little off, especially the side-to-side one. But that's just how you can know everything's centered to the IR.
Okay.
So while she's here, I'm going to keep her for this position for my lateral elbow. Lift up. Lateral elbow is on a small one. Now I'm going to bring you forward a little bit, and I can just push this back a little bit. Middle of the elbow is on that condyle. It says about 2 centimeters in from the olecranon process in the book. And a nice square around just the elbow. See how I'm off on the centering? Right about there. Like that. You still have plenty of room for your marker. So that's a lateral elbow. Same as the lateral forearm, just collimated to the elbow.
Okay.
Now AP elbow, pretty much the same as an AP forearm. Straight out. And we're going to turn that to match with the arm. Condyle straight. Bring it over. I'm going to bring the whole table over. In the center. And that is our AP for our elbow.
And what you were saying about making sure, you said like the condyles for this one as well?
Yeah,
Like-
they're parallel to the IR, that they're running straight with the IR. Because if they are rotated, then it's an oblique.
Okay.
Yep.
What are the exposure instructions?
And so good. No real breathing instructions on these. I mean, you can say hold your breath. Just don't move.
Okay.
So that they're not, because breathing isn't going to make them move
Just
their
say
arm.
hold still.
Just hold still, don't move.
Gotcha.
So we did AP and we did lateral. So now we have the other two, which are obliques, internal and external, or you could say medial and lateral oblique. The easy one, just put your hand palm down. That automatically brings that at almost about 45 degrees. That slant that we want, this is rotating towards me or internally. So this is a medial oblique elbow. So roll it a little bit to match your arm. So that's the easy one. Now go back to AP, and this one's hard, roll backwards. Now that's our external oblique. Now I'm gonna lift up this and slide it over,
And move this over.
and even a little bit more, but yeah, that's it. Really should be here,
There we go.
yeah. So that one's uncomfortable, I would do that one last, so you can relax.
Whew. Nervous.
When you go to clinic,